Okay, we'll call the meeting in order. The Newman City Council and Redevelopment Agency of September 25th, 2007. Please stand for the pledge and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we please bow our heads? Dear God, thank you for bringing us all together tonight. We ask that you give this council the wisdom and the guidance to make the right decisions for this city. And this we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Bob. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Caton?
Present.
Councilmember Kelly?
Present.
Councilmember Greenwald?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina?
Present.
Mayor Fennessy?
Present. Declarations of a conflicts of interest. We have none this evening. No ceremonial matters. Item 7, items for the public, non-agenda items. If anybody has anything they'd like to bring before us this evening that is not on tonight's posted agenda, now would be the time. Yes, sir. Please come up to the podium and give us your name and address.
My name's George Valle. I live over at the new development, 136 Rosetta at Sherman Ranch. We've been having some parking issues lately. There's going to be no parking allowed. Actually, there is no parking allowed on the surface streets there in the development. There's some signs posted on Hills Ferry now that state no parking from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. We see that most of the residents that I've spoke to see that hopefully that could possibly be amended, because there's going to be no parking in that development, and if anybody even has one guest, they have nowhere to park. Then they're forced to park at the park, which on a weekend would be an issue as well. So we're working with the homeowners association on alleviating some of that stress, and also we were wanting to ask the city if that could be amended. The parking along Sherman Ranch, the park there, states that no trucks. You know, obviously the big rigs.
Big wheeler, sure.
So we understand that that is something feasible. If that could be something feasible on that end as well, we'd greatly appreciate it, because the more people we're starting to get in there now, the more of a hassle it's becoming. And those city streets there are very narrow, so it is a fire hazard. We do understand that. So
Okay.
we're trying to take advantage of the undeveloped areas at the moment.
Sure.
So if that could be something addressed. I did have another issue with the garbage collection. It seems that either the new residents are not told that it's every other Friday for the recycling.
Recycling.
I don't know how long that's been in place. We are new. But I don't see why it should be such an issue to pick up the same day as the trash on Tuesdays. I think it would be more effective, and it would help create people wanting to recycle more.
Sure.
So I think those two issues are concerns for myself and that new development as well.
Okay. As far as the parking issue, we'll have our chief take a look at that and, remind us of the hours and what's posted over there. And the recycling, as far as I know on that deal, they use the same truck, but in other words, it goes to a different spot. Obviously, the recycling has to go somewhere where it's sorted out, the cardboard, the plastics, the cans. So that's why it's on a certain day, and that's all he does is do the recycling on a certain day. But we will double check on that, but that's as far as I know, that's why it's done on a separate day.
All right.
In the same neighborhood anyway, so.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mayor, for the new residents of our community, we do have a master schedule for when the recycling is picked up for the entire community. So it'll actually state what date and what side of town they're picking it up on. So you can pick that up free of charge at City Hall.
And Mike, when's our next newsletter go out?
We're working on that with staff. I'll have to talk to our recreation assistant about
And
that.
maybe we can also just include that again.
Yeah.
I know
we're
it's
looking at doing a winter one that really talks about what the 2008 schedule is going to be, and the highlight of it's going to be the recreational programs.
That'd be helpful.
That'd be good. Thank you.
No, that's good.
Is there any other non-agenda items this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda items. When the item comes before us and you'd like to comment, raise your hand, come to the podium, state your name and address, and try to keep your comments to under 3 minutes. Public hearings, we have 3 this evening. The first one is adopt resolution number 2007, next to number, approving the implementation plan 07 through 012 for the Newman Redevelopment Agency.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we have Martha Packard from GRC, a development consultant who has worked on this 5-year implementation plan for us over probably the last year or so. So I'm going to allow her to go ahead and do a presentation for it.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, my name is Martha Packard, and I'm with GRC Redevelopment Consultants in the Oakland office. And I'm the principal in charge of that office, and I've had the pleasure of preparing your implementation plan for your current 5-year period, which is 2007 through 2012. The implementation plan is the document that was created by AB 1290, which many of you are probably aware of, which was called the Redevelopment Reform Act. It was passed by the legislature in 1993 and became effective in 1994, and it created this document, the implementation plan, the 5-year implementation plan. Primarily, the purpose of the implementation plan is to focus the agency's program for the upcoming 5 years, being that the redevelopment plan document itself is a very, very general document and doesn't have any close-range goals, objectives, programs, plans. It's a very long-range plan. It's really enabling legislation, as you all know. So the purpose of the implementation plan is to focus both the agency and the public's attention on what the objectives are for the immediate 5-year period. It's required to be adopted now by all agencies every 5 years. I just want to highlight some of the most important parts, or what might probably be the most important parts to the redevelopment agency. The agency is anticipating selling a single bond issue, a $4.5 million bond issue, which would include all of its immediate programs, again, for the next 5 years. The implementation plan contains those 4 main programs, 3 of which pertain to the Aquatic Center, and others are of related public improvements. The specific activities contained in this plan are on page 25, and they include the following 4 key programs. Acquisition of property for the Aquatic Community Center project. That's been accomplished. I just found out today from Mr. Holland. And so that can be crossed off. Number 2 is the contribution towards the construction of the Aquatic Center. Number 3 is the contribution towards construction of a downtown plaza. And number 4 is upgrading the existing infrastructure, ideally located adjacent to the Aquatic Center and the downtown district. So those are the 4 key programs that are anticipated to be funded and prioritized by the agency in the next 5 years, and that would encompass most of this $4.5 million bond issue. The other components of the plan include some more specific goals and objectives. If you have any questions about those, feel free to ask me. And generally, that's the purpose of this plan. It also has the agency's housing obligations and what kinds of programs might be anticipated in the next 5 years for the low and moderate income housing fund program. And with that, I think I will leave it and be happy to answer any of your questions if you have any. Thank you.
Questions from the council? Michael, anything to add before I open the public hearing?
Yeah, just again, also on page 22, there's some broader scaled projects that we can look at, and that's economic and community development. Rehabilitation is part of it, historic preservation, development assistance, property acquisition, recreational and community facility improvements, business retention, new business development, streetscape development, parking improvements, business district and revitalization, and public improvements. And these are all very general because you want to cast this in a very general light, so you maintain the maximum amount of flexibility that are as you move forward and prioritize your specific projects. Now, these are all very general projects, but if you look at them, they're a little bit detailed by saying, okay, we're going to focus on some parking improvements in the downtown and streetscape development and those types of things. So with that, we do have a public hearing, and we can open that up.
I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody from the audience like to comment on the redevelopment plan?
I would.
Yes, sir. Good.
Okay. From here.
Oh, I beg
Please
your
come up here, that way the people at home can hear you. Otherwise, we can only hear you here and they can't hear you at home.
Okay, my name is Verlin Starkey. I have a personal issue on this with the police department. I have a boat that is on private property.
Oh, Mayor, that's an agenda item.
Yeah.
This is a different item.
This is a different item. You're on item.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they keep putting the tags on it for me to move it or they'll tow it. And I'm on private property, it's illegal for them to act upon that. This ordinance does not comply.
We have that on our agenda, so when that comes up,
But
we'll.
that's not what we're speaking
No,
about.
no. We're talking about redevelopment, but no.
Excuse me.
No, it's okay.
it's okay.
It's all right. Would anybody like to comment on the redevelopment plan?
Item C.
Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and ask for some direction.
Sure. If council, do we have any questions or?
No questions? If not,
Staff?
some direction on the redevelopment plan?
I make a motion that we adopt and implement the plans 2007-2012 for the Newman redevelopment project, Area 1.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And our second public hearing item this evening is second read and adoption of ordinance number 2007, next to number, amending Title III, Section 3.01.040 of the Newman City Code requiring consistency with state and federal law.
Yes, Mayor, members of the City Council, this is the public hearing and second reading on the proposed ordinance change, which would change our code so that all businesses have to be in compliance with both state and federal laws. And this addresses the issue of the cannabis club's marijuana medicinal issue of receiving business license when in fact it is against federal law to operate that type of a business. There was no comments at the first meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the chief?
Chief, one question. People that do have a medical marijuana card, where do they get that?
There are other locations throughout the county or outside the county where they can take those cards. But this would not allow those types of businesses to come into the city of Newman.
So there is places they can go?
Yes, there is.
Thank you.
Backyard.
What was that?
I didn't mean to record.
That wasn't from my microphone.
Might have to review the tape on this one, huh?
Sorry.
Further questions for the chief? If not, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody like to comment on this matter? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for some action.
I'd move to approve the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2007, next to number, amending Title III, Section 3.01.040 of the Newman City Code requiring consistency with state and federal law.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And our third public hearing this evening is adopt ordinance number 2007, next to number, a resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
Yes, Mayor, members of the City Council, we have two items requiring abatement. The first is at 2230 Canyon Brook Lane. This is a situation in which it's a residential neighborhood, and the house is overgrown with weeds. It's apparently a foreclosure. We tried to notify the bank, which is the current owner. We sent them a letter. We received no response to that letter. I don't know if we have, do we have pictures on this? Okay, you have pictures in your possession as to what we're dealing with here. And also we have a situation with a swimming pool that's half full. Green water is what's remaining in there right now. We have notified the mosquito abatement district. They have this on their watch list. They've already made one visit. It's not a breeding ground at this time for mosquitoes, but they do check it periodically to see if mosquitoes are nesting. We called today just to make sure it's not a current mosquito abatement issue also.
Chief, looking at these pictures, it looks like there's water in that pool. It's about half full.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Chief, question.
Yes.
Mosquito abatement, do they do anything as far as, do they spray like where that water's located?
Yes, where they've come out initially, when we notified them, they did an initial inspection. It's not a breeding ground at that time. They come out periodically to re-inspect, and if it is a breeding ground, they will spray for those mosquitoes. And it's, West Nile virus is a real issue in this area.
Thank you.
And we haven't heard anything from the bank. You say you did try or you did contact?
We sent them correspondence, and there was no reply to the correspondence.
Chief, do we have the legal rights to go on there and pump that pool out, have Public Works go over and pump it out?
That's a real good question. And,
We could
I
do-
don't know the answer.
The way I've been doing that is we get what's called an abatement warrant from the court that allows us to do it, so then we don't have any Fourth Amendment issues about in or out of the property without court approval.
I think it'd be very important to do that and do it as quickly as possible, not only from the mosquito standpoint, but this is a true hazard if someone, small child falls in there and drowns. So I think the sooner we can get that done, the better.
We've been fortunate not to have too many here, but I have some in other jurisdictions ready to go. Excuse me, so we can prepare that. I can take that over. What happens is you take it to the judge. I just walk it to the courthouse, and he signs it. Problem is you don't know when you'll get it back. So they're not set for hearing and with the signature, but that is how the process works, and we can certainly do that in this case.
I would think it'd probably be a great idea, and I agree with Councilman Cranklaw that I think as long as that sits there, it's going to just become more of a hazard, not only because of mosquitoes, but, the potential. And so I would concur if we can have our council prepare the documents and see if we can go ahead and get a warrant issued, at least get that pool pumped out.
Well, I think we need to abate the whole project, start with the pool. You also have, looks like a major fire hazard back there. If I was living next to that, if I was those neighbors, I'd have some real concerns about this. So I'm in favor of moving on to full abatement.
Are we going to handle these separate, Tom, each item?
You
or-
can do them both. It's your choice.
Can we just include the pool as part of the abatement on this particular one and just do one and the same, you said?
Why don't we go ahead and just do, let's
think-
get a vote on this
Oh,
one then.
properties,
Go.
I think.
Should we do that then? Get a motion and a, oh, do them separate? Okay, let's open the public hearing then to cover everything. Open the public hearing. Let's comment on the, this one first, the Canyon Brook. Anybody would like to comment on the Canyon Brook abatement? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and leave the public hearing open during the whole thing here. Let's bring this one back then for some direction.
I move for abatement.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you very much, Chief, and we'll move on to the second one.
And for clarification, this would be the weed and the pool.
Correct.
Weeds and pool, okay.
Yeah. Whatever it takes to get that pool pumped out.
Okay, and I'll be working with the city attorney on that.
Thank you.
Pool
Just a
issue.
quick question. Now, do we charge that back to the bank?
We put a
Sounds
lien-
good
we-
to me.
We bill them, and if we don't get paid, then we put a lien on the property.
Excellent.
Looks like it might be a good buy, too.
Goodbye. Check this out.
Cool.
Mayor, City Council, the second item is at 1307 L Street. This is a boat and trailer parked on the side yard. The city sent a notice to abate nuisance removal to the owner of 1300 L Street. The owner of
07.
the property has been in contact with our code enforcement officer, Edgar Lopez, and The situation is that the lady who lives at 1307 L Street is currently in a nursing home. It's her nephew who is looking after her property. The boat and trailer does not belong to them, but belongs to the neighbor next door. And his aunt has asked the nephew to have the neighbor remove the boat and trailer in compliance with the abatement request.
Sir, that's a lie, sir.
The code enforcement officer, Edgar Lopez, I sent him out to make contact with the next door neighbor, the owner of the boat and trailer, to have him abate this situation and remove them. And Edgar reported to me that he had made contact after his third attempt, and the owner stated that it's unconstitutional for the city to force him to abate the boat and trailer, and thus it remains where it's at.
Yeah.
I compound that lie. My mother is best friends with Owen
Please,
Barnes,
please come up to
Yeah, here's the mic.
and I've always had permission. I wouldn't have put it there without it. We've been neighbors there 25 years. And otherwise, I would have taken the stand issue. First of all, I don't believe the city has a right to move on private property. They didn't make a warrant to move it anyway. So I was leaning on that I did have permission. I have permission, and I can prove that I had it, if you need it. Second of all, I don't believe this is a legal law. Now, first of all, I believe that the city here is a civil entity, but I don't believe it has the right to declare law. I believe this resolution has to go before the Supreme Court in Sacramento before it is a viable law. Otherwise, it's what is determined as a vigilante law. A vigilante law is when a group of citizens get together and enforce their own laws without the determination of Superior Court law determination. So what we do have is this is a breach of my civil rights. If you take my property, you're stealing. As a group entity of vigilantes, not citymen. You have to have the declaration of Supreme Court judge why to remove my property. Now, while he's holding, Your Honor's holding, on the fact that he's saying that I don't have permission, I'm saying I do. This is another issue because this is the first time I've heard of that. I have permission, but you do not have the right to ever sell private property, ever, from a citizen without the declaration from a Supreme Court judge. And a city never has that right. Now, if you do, you've broken civil rights, my civil rights. Because you do not have the right, as a vigilante force, you're not a legal entity. As the city of Newman, as a corporation, you're not a legal entity to declare law. You have to declare law at the Capitol. You can't do it legally. You have to run it before the Supreme Court. And then, if it's opposed to there, it has to go before the people, and it has to be voted in. But you can't do it. You cannot declare law. You're not lawyers. You're not judgemen. You are lawyers, excuse me. You cannot do this. So if you do take my property, you are personally responsible for it, and you're also personally responsible for violating my civil rights.
How come you don't move the boat?
Huh?
How come you don't move it?
Well, I have permission to be there. I have permission to be there. I just need a little bit of time to maybe sell off something, but this is a rights issue of every human. Why can I just stay there? I have the right to be there. They wrote this down. I cannot believe they have this. Because do you have it in writing?
Sorry?
You have it in writing? You sent a letter to Mrs. Barnes. Do you have it in writing where they say I don't have permission?
We have the word of the nephew.
The word of the nephew says I don't have permission. That's exactly what he said. He didn't tell us that. I'm in communication with it too. Of course, I don't want to blame this on you.
Seems like to me the easiest thing would be just, and I think all we're asking for is compliance. It'd be the easiest thing.
You're breaking the law. You have no right as a city to tell me what to do.
Okay.
I have to say,
Sir,
that's just simply not true.
Okay.
If you use that logic, the city could never pass an ordinance, a local law. So that's just ridiculous. Again, that's why I recommend that you always get the abatement warrant from a Superior Court judge.
Right. Because you cannot.
And we could do that. It doesn't matter if it's, my understanding that it's the boat, it's not the ownership issue, it's the fact that the boat is in this.
And
It's not
is in
the
this spot, the owner of the property
It's-
could not
it's-
have it there.
You understand,
So these-
you understand, we're gonna proceed. That's why
They
we have,
didn't
that's why
ask
we
you-
have an
they-
attorney, and that's why we have
yeah,
an
they didn't
abatement
ask you to do
process.
this. I complied with the prior chief on this boat. My mother speaks to people as best friends on the phone every day. This is not true. I have permission to be there.
Again, the issue is that it's a nuisance regardless of these
You
ownership.
cannot
and
declare a
other-
nuisance on private property, nor can you move on it as a citizen.
Well, I've done it many times.
I know you have, but you're breaking the law.
That's not what the judge tells me.
Well, we'll see so, because you're gonna deal with me in Superior Court. You're gonna deal with me.
That's right where I go.
Well, I'm there too. You're not the only legal advisor
No, I-
on.
Counsel, do you have any other
But once
questions?
again,
Go ahead.
you have to, as a city, you have to run these laws before the Superior Court of California before you declare them law. You cannot do so as just a general assembly of a township. You can't declare law. It's illegal.
Well, since we're not attorneys and our attorney just said we could, we have to go by what he says, but
Okay, but you're still responsible.
I
Don't
take full
think you're not.
responsibility from what
Okay.
our attorney says.
Okay, I understand you.
That's why he makes the big bucks.
But if we can get the nephew to put it in writing, then you
Yes.
move it without any problem?
Well, I'm not gonna cause
I
him
don't
a
wanna-
problem. That's
But,
okay.
Ted, that's not
But
the issue.
we're-
It can
Well,
be,
I know
it can
it's
be
not,
the
but
owner's
that would-
property, and they're still in violation of the ordinance, still in
Yeah,
violation
no
of law.
matter, yeah.
So it doesn't really
It's
make
the
any
property
difference.
we're talking about, but if.
Yeah, see,
so
my
the-
issue, this is new to me because we're neighbors there. My issue here, and I think the police department is trying to declare a win. I really do. Because I have permission to be there. And if I have permission to be there, then you're pushing me around as a city entity, when there's no violation, is what my problem is here. And if I'm not violating, I should be pushed around.
No, but it is against the ordinance, that's what we're saying.
What ordinance?
I just recommend, it'd probably be easier if you just moved it
What
and asked
ordinance
for
am I
compliance.
breaking, please? What does I do? I'm out of the walkway, I'm on private property. You cannot, your ordinance cannot entail private property. Do you understand me?
I think we're having a misunderstanding of the interpretation of how ordinances work and how they're come about. I mean, every city in this county has ordinances, same thing. Even the county has ordinance for
But are you,
things.
I don't believe you're in the boundaries of the law on it. You cannot enter private property. If I'm.
So you're saying that every city in the county, they're all breaking the law? Is that what
If
you're
you have
saying?
the same one, well, it may come to issue. You do not have a right to enter private property. It's a civil rights issue. And now on a city street, you do have a right if it's a nuisance. Now, that boat has a license. It has a right to be on the city street. So all I have to do is put it up and put it on the street. I'm legal. You understand me? It's even in your notes there, in the bylaws of this resolution. However, they're saying that I'm making a nuisance of myself by being on private property. Otherwise, there's no nuisance. What nuisance would there be?
Well, obviously, we've had some complaints.
No, you haven't.
Oh, I think we
They
have.
drove by and started it. The police department did.
No, trust me, I've personally got complaints about this boat there
Well,
for months and months and months.
And then who are my accusers?
Who are your complainers?
Yes.
You know, I have to go back and look at my notes at home, but I've had at least half a dozen people
Well,
mention your
We need to
boat.
bring these to issue here.
I will try to find the
Okay.
names of
And,
them.
I'm willing to have a discussion with the chief there, but,
Okay,
okay,
thank you very much.
okay. The civil rights issue is Patrick Kennedy, the Declaration of Independence.
I went to school with that.
Yes, chief.
I'd just like to publicly praise our code enforcement officer, Edgar Lopez, in the manner in which he's been handling these code enforcement issues. And look to council for a clear direction on this boat and trailer.
You're gonna get it.
abate it.
And we're gonna have Tom,
No doubt my key
we're gonna have Tom walk this one over too, like he's gonna do the poll issue. Any other questions? Any other public comments since the public hearing is still open? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for some action.
I move to adopt resolution number 2007, X number, a resolution declaring the existence of public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
I second it.
All in favor?
1307 L Street.
Oh, I'm sorry, which would include 1307 L Street in the city of Newman.
And our attorney's going to do the same thing as he
Yes.
did, as we're going to do for the pool issue, just
Make sure we follow the law.
make it all copacetic here. Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item 9, consent calendar. Item A, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. Approval of warrants, approval of minutes of the September 11, 2007 regular meeting, and adopt resolution number 2007. Next, a number declare a declaration of official intent of the city of Newman to reimburse certain expenditure from proceeds of obligation from the iBank. Questions, comments on the consent calendar? Does everybody understand the D about the iBank deal? Just a formality for the paperwork to get done. With that, I'll entertain a motion then.
I move for approval of the consent calendar.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item 10, regular business. Item A, Public Works pickup truck purchase report. Ernie.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This issue was before the council at the last council meeting. The staff was directed to investigate the possibility of pricing a work truck. And we were also directed to submit an inventory of all the pickups assigned to the Public Works Department. Included with your report, you should have an inventory of all the pickups assigned to the Public Works, including the vehicle year, the mileage, and the fuel type. As for the pricing of a work truck, Chief Plant Operator Lance Perry built and priced a work truck on the internet, and the result of the truck was $328 lower than the quoted price we had received from Bigelow. Lance also prepared a memorandum that should be included in your agenda packet, in which he justifies the request for the purchase of the pickup truck as specified in the bid proposal. So based on the results of the work truck pricing and purchase request and the justification of Lance's memo, staff recommends that the council approve the bid proposal for the purchase of the pickup truck and bid with Chevrolet for $29,011.79. Any questions that you may have regarding the pickup purchase request, I would respectfully defer to Lance since he is here tonight to answer any questions.
Lance, where's that other truck? I hope it's not Chicago.
And the one we're going to get?
What other truck?
The one that you, on the internet. that
The
you say-
WT, it's just the building price on the GM website. Just go to it and go
Gotcha,
price down.
gotcha.
It's not really
So you-
out there.
Gotcha.
Plus, they're on strike, aren't they? Today?
Oh, God, as of today, huh?
Lance, I'd like to compliment you on your report that you gave us.
Thank you.
What we're all faced with, whether it's you, whether it's us up here, is accountability to the public. And for us to be accountable to them, the more information that we have on your request, whether it's you or the police department or whatever, then the more somebody asks us a question, we can be accountable. So in the future, when you do ask for something, the more information you give us, the easier it makes our decision. And I appreciate your report. Thank you very much.
Questions, comments? If not, some direction?
I would move to approve, based on recommendation of Lance, to make the purchase of the necessary equipment, the pickup, at the listed price of $29,011.79, be purchased from Bigelow Chevrolet.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion.
Opposed.
So it's 4-1 in favor. Lance, thank you very much. Keep that truck clean out there. Item B, Adopt resolution number 2007, next to number, approving Yellow Street project and authorizing myself as mayor and Michael Holland as city clerk to record a notice of completion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, as you well know, communities receiving CDBG funds may use these funds for many kinds of community development activities, including construction, reconstruction of streets, water, sewer facilities, many other public works projects. And back in 2005, the council approved the Yolo Street Sidewalk Infill project that was recently completed. Some of the improvements of the project included sections of sidewalk on the south side of Yolo that were missing from Highway 33 to S Street. It also included the handicap ramps to meet ADA regulations and a relocation of storm drain inlets and replacement of some valley gutters. And of course, along with that was partial paving, street paving. The only correction I have for you tonight here under fiscal impact, I had listed at $204,359.10, which had been the original contract. We had not received the last billing for the additional work that was required at the Yolo and our street intersection. So that needs to be corrected to state that the fiscal impact, total fiscal impact is $247,046.72. This also includes additional quantities that, unit prices that they did additional work other than what was listed in the contract. So it's recommended that the City Council approve the resolution number 2007, next in number. Any questions?
Questions? Comments? Yes, Dave.
This is within that, but it's not the actual resolution. It's within that realm.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Dave Reed, 1541 Kern Street. When the sidewalk was put in, it looks great, by the way, after the time it took to do it and everything, it looks good. But it runs out at S Street. Okay, now, a couple of years ago, the council reviewed the crosswalks in the school areas, what would be used, what weren't, and those two crosswalks, right, S Street and Yolo, were to be abandoned. They didn't have the signs put up for them or anything else. And now that the sidewalk is up there and it runs at that point, the kids are going to have to cross the street there somewhere. And I'd like to see one of the crosswalks at least put back in with signs there stating that they are school crosswalks.
Oh, that's a little, yeah, where S Street comes and it dead ends there.
Yeah, right.
They used to be a
There's
little,
actually two
right.
crosswalks there, and they both.
Because there used to be an entrance there when it was the,
Yeah, right.
where junior high. They used to come in the back, and I think
Yeah.
they don't, yeah.
But
So-
now the sidewalk ends at that point, so they're
Right.
going to have to cross or walk through that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Something we'll definitely could take a look at, see how many kids are actually using that little crosswalk there. And I think, well, I know they have crossing guards, and I don't know if the kids are told to cross at, Yolo and R, but we'll definitely check into that and see what's happening.
Yeah, they're the
Yeah.
older kids.
The older kids, yeah. Yeah. Older kids could dodge cars, but.
They don't use crosswalks anyway, so, but they probably need to take a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that, Chief, if you could. Any other comments, questions? If not, some direction?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2000XX, approving the Yolo Street Sidewalk Infill Project and authorize John Fancia as mayor and Michael Holland as city clerk to record a notice of completion.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And item C, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 2007, next to number, amending Title 9 of the Newman City Code, adding 9.12, junk dealer and scrap metal recycler.
Yes, Mayor, members of the City Council, this is the first reading introduction of a ordinance adopting a junk dealer and scrap metal ordinance through the Newman Municipal Code. The proposed ordinance is in response to a recent surge in thefts involving scrap metals occurring throughout the state, specifically within the Central Valley, including San Joaquin and Stanislaus counties. We've had Supervisor Jim DeMartini tell us about the county ordinance that has recently been adopted. I've taken the county ordinance and modified it to meet the needs of the city of Newman. In doing so, I've also met with Mr. Chris Wiseman from Newman Recyclers, see what type of an impact that this ordinance would have on his existing business. The intent is to decrease the number of scrap metal thefts occurring within the county, within this area. However, we don't want the unintended consequence of driving out an honest operation from town. So I met with Mr. Wiseman, we sat down, we looked at it, I gave him a copy of the county ordinance at the time, and he talked about some of the things that would be very restrictive and would actually drive him out of business. And that is if any cash payment over $10 would have to be in a check form. He does not work in that fashion. It's a cash-driven business that he has. However, he said anything over $200, he said definitely would be a cash in, which would not be an impact, a negative impact on his business. The forms that he's currently using, I looked at and would meet my needs and requirements as the chief of police in looking after those who may be responsible for scrap metal thefts occurring in the county. Mr. Wiseman, his concern is not accepting scrap metal which is stolen, and has driven people out of his business just merely suspecting that it might be stolen. Again, the ordinance would meet the needs for the city of Newman. It would also protect us from unscrupulous scrap metal dealers coming into Newman. I also want to point out that it's called scrap metal, but when the theft occurs, the metal is not scrap.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It becomes scrap when it's stolen and cut up. And thousands of dollars is reduced to pennies on the dollar. And I want to make that quite clear what we're dealing with here. A lot of the thefts are occurring with farming, ranching operations, cities and counties, and school districts. So it's an ordinance which protects the general public, also protects our interests as a governmental entity. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Additional, should I
Pardon?
mention those now, those additional?
Yes, the city attorney's had some additional conversations.
I was reminded that Supervisor DeMartini had said that they had revised their ordinance. So there are two changes to the definition section. I just briefly spoke to the chief before the meeting, and I'd recommend that you add those when you introduce the ordinance. And I can read those whenever you'd like.
Go ahead. You want to read those?
Okay. The first, again, this is in the definition section 9.12.030. This is in section A. At the end of that section, we would add a comma, but does not include second-hand and used furniture or pallets. And then down in subsection E, in the last, well, second to the last sentence, it has defined in Business and Professions Code Section 21600. We would delete in Business and Professions Code Section 21600 and just say herein. And the reason for that definition is it's a little broader and we don't want to be too limited in scope.
And any changes that may occur
Right.
within 21600.
Sounds good. We obviously don't want to affect any existing businesses that are legal businesses. And anything else? I mean, from reading it, that would affect Chief?
And
Everything's-
I've asked Mr. Wiseman to be present, to address the council if he has any questions or concerns as it might impact his business.
Chris, I just have a question of your business. Do you see mostly you're dealing in plastics and aluminum? I mean, cans and bottle. Are you seeing any copper wire and things like that show up?
Very small amounts.
Can you come up to the?
Chris,
can
you
you
want
up
to,
the
yeah,
mic?
come on up, Chris, please.
My name's Chris Weisman. I live at 1400 Block P Street. When I first opened, there was a couple incidences where I suspected and passed it on. Told them I'd call the police on them and wouldn't buy it. But I've been open a year and 4 months. I'd say the last 6 or 7 months, very, very little. Very little. I pay approximately 50%, less than what anybody pays in the bigger cities. So they're really not interested in bringing it to me to start with because I pay such a little amount for the scrap. Also, I'd like to tell you that I do not accept any agriculture. It doesn't matter if you tell me you're a farmer, you own a dairy, it just doesn't matter. I just found it's too much hassle. So no irrigation pipe, no tractor runners, anything like that. It's just automatically turned away. And I advertise as such.
Okay.
No ag. And then also I go above and beyond the ordinance, and I don't purchase from any walk-ups and any bicycles. So you can't walk up to my place of business and be carrying a bag of wire and sell it to me. So you have to have a legal vehicle, you got to have a valid ID. Also, on a lot of them, if I have any question, I often ask for a business card or a letterhead. If the person's selling the metal for someone else and they can't explain it to me reasonable enough, then I call and verify. And staple the business card to the receipt, and I'll be turning that in every day to the police chief.
Great.
Is that it?
Thanks.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor, also, Chief Ulibarri has gone and met with Mr. Rocha, Norbert Rocha, the owners of West Side Pallet, because
I
in
know
the
he was
initial drafting
concerned,
of
yeah.
this ordinance, there could have been an effect on
Mhm.
Norbert, and so through Chief Ulibarri's diligence and discussions with him, that has now been excluded. He's now been excluded.
Good. Yeah, I got a call too. He was very concerned. Yeah. Jim, how are you?
Oh, doing just fine.
Good.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Just a comment, about this ordinance. Since metal theft is an epidemic proportion within the county and throughout the state, that legitimate scrap recyclers should have no problem with this ordinance. I haven't looked at how you've modified your ordinance, different from the counties, but I am assuming it's fairly minor. That asking for identification, limiting the hours of operation, and not buying from anyone under 18 are very reasonable regulations to follow. Legitimate scrap dealers probably already do this. And I'm not saying there's probably not a problem with the dealer that you have in this town. But without an ordinance like this, you could get an unscrupulous dealer that would move into the area that would just buy known stolen material. And we do have them in Stanislaus County. The sting operation that the Sheriff's County did perform 6 or 8 months ago, where it was obviously stolen wire, it had PG&E stickers on it. 2 undercover sheriffs went to 8 different dealers in Stanislaus County and was able to sell obviously stolen new copper wire in rolls with PG&E stickers on it to 6 of the 8. So we know that we have a problem. Now, one of the dealers refused to buy it, and another one actually called the police. So we had the Modesto police show up to arrest our sheriff's officers. So, but that was only one guy out of 8. So I think that they're very reasonable regulations to follow, and if we're asking all the cities within the county to adopt this, so we don't have a spot in the county that unscrupulous dealers can come in. I would also mention that San Joaquin County a few weeks ago has adopted this ordinance. The Stanislaus County did pass. We have sent the ordinance to Merced County, who is considering it. Yolo County, which I think will adopt it, in Calaveras County. The cities of Patterson and Turlock have already passed this ordinance. And our goal is to have all the cities within the county adopt something very similar. And the part that was changed by the city attorney was resulted from the definition of a scrap dealer as including pallets, and it was a state definition. And it was an oversight on our part of the county. We don't make many of them, but we certainly did this time. And it was never the regulation, the intention of the county to regulate pallet dealers. That was not the problem. Our problem stems from non-ferrous metals. It doesn't stem from plastic or bottles or cans or glass or anything of the sort. It was just non-ferrous metals. Unfortunately, the pallets was included as recyclers. So if you've made that change, I think that would eliminate that problem. The only other comment I could make is, you know, we do require, at least on the county level and in the other cities, paid by check anything over $10 for non-ferrous metals. I think $200 limit is a little high, but it's, you know, it's yours to do what you want. The people who would sell this material do not have to wait for the check for days afterwards. It's issued the same day, but I think $200 is a little high, but whatever you decide will be still an improvement over what we have.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other questions, comments? If not, some direction?
I would move to, let's see, introduce and first reading of ordinance number 2007, next in number, amending Title IX of the Newman City Code, adding 9.12 junk dealer and scrap metal recycler.
I second.
All in favor?
With the amendments to the definition.
With the amendments that
And with the amendments?
that the city attorney read off? With the amendments? Just
Yes, I'm
with
sorry.
the- Oh, no.
I was conversing with the chief.
Okay.
Yes, as with the
With
noted
the amendments as
I'm
noted
sorry.
by the city attorney.
Thank you.
And that was a second?
That's a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item D, report from Supervisor DeMartini. Anything else? Should have just had you stay up there.
Again, thank you for adopting that ordinance. That's one more city down and just about 6 more to go. I believe Ceres City Council is taking this up at their next meeting, and it will be on Modesto's agenda within a month. This should alleviate that problem. The only things I could probably mention other than that, although this was a very important one to me, is the healthcare task force is continuing on. And as I stated the last time, we are gathering information and making some progress on what we have in this area, trying to improve health services in this area. We have to make very certain of what we have and what we don't. And we're very close to being finished with that part of it right now, and I think one more meeting will probably do that. The next meeting will be in Patterson, and I believe it's about 1st of November. Yeah, this I know. We gave ourselves 8 weeks this last time because the information that we're asking for takes a little while to put together and to assimilate into a template that's meaningful. The only other thing I can mention was we do have an ad hoc meeting tomorrow with the West Park, the developer that we are in negotiations with over development of the air base. A lot has happened since the last time, since we have received a letter from the Port of Oakland saying that they did not really have an interest in the project, that it was not their priority. That is not what we had been led to believe in the past. Also, we received a letter from the Metropolitan Transportation Commission which raised many issues about the lengths of the trains, the times they could run, and the ability to get into the Port of Oakland at certain times. This is all new information, and the ad hoc committee will be taking this up tomorrow. Also of interest would be the status of the I-bond money that was passed in November's election for use for rail improvements. We had always been told that there would be a joint application between West Park and Port of Oakland and Northern California as one application. The letter that we did receive from the Port of Oakland said that was not going to happen. I don't know if it ever was, but at least it isn't now. Port of Oakland is pursuing their own projects, which is a line through Donner Pass, through the mountains, so they can double stack containers. So that is their interest, and their interest in the Crow's Landing Air Base is far down the line, and it's nothing that they're going to submit for I-bond money. Also of interest is the matching money that is required from the I-bond money. Well, that at the last STANCOG meeting showed the Port of Oakland as the matching money. That obviously is not going to happen too. So we have many questions now with the developer, and this is a year-long negotiation process, which we are 6-7 months into now. So those are concerns that will be brought up tomorrow and then into the future. And until these issues are resolved, before the county can make a final determination on what we're going to do with this air base. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thanks, Jim.
Item 11, items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to announce that as of Friday, we have officially taken title to the Hill property for the Newman Aquatic Center. So based upon the agreement, we gave a partial payment, and then we make the final payment. It'll be on your warrant list January 8th of 2008. Originally, we had a much larger agenda for you today, but the home loan program, which I know the council is anxious to receive, and the SCM project, for which we have promised you a informational item, were asked to be removed, or I removed the home loan program in anticipation of an hour and a half long meeting for SCM, and then at the last minute they pulled that off on Friday. They asked that to be continued as their attorney was not going to be present, and as a professional courtesy towards them, we did that.
So we'll reschedule that, what, 6, 8 months, 9 months when we have time? when we're all here?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Just checking.
But, and I bring that up, and the mayor's half right on that, because October is going to be a very busy month for us agenda-wise. And I'm not necessarily sure we'll have very long meetings, but at our next meeting, we're going to have the home loan program on there, and then we're going to have a presentation of the water and sewer rate study that this council approved. And STANCOG will be here as well. So there's a number of items that are brewing on here that the council is going to be taking action on. So I indicated to them, in all likelihood, it may be November, but with November being typically a one meeting month, we'll see how that goes. So,
I'm thinking January, February myself.
okay, and I'll work with the council.
Well, we
and,
said next available without
yeah.
a date.
And I think that's what we indicated to him, next available meeting. So we were ready to go forward to this on this particular meeting. So. With that, I know Mr. Reed talked a little bit about the S Street and the crosswalk on there. I'd be cautious. We've kind of adopted a policy here, no mid-block crosswalks, and so we do have crosswalks up at R Street, and there are crosswalks at T Street, and those are controlled intersections, four-way controlled intersections. So we'll have the police department look at that again, but again, we want to be cautious, and ultimately it's about the safety of our kids, and I know the high school students don't want to be called kids, they're teenagers, but still it's ultimately for their safety, and whether they're walking in the sidewalks or not, they should be crossing at controlled intersections. So with that, that's all I had.
Michael, along those lines of high school kids and traffic and crosswalks, I've noticed coming into town around noontime, there's a lot of high school kids that are coming by the convalescent hospital, crossing 33 and going to the mini mart, getting whatever they do. And a lot of times they have no regard whatsoever about the traffic, none. And it's a real hazard situation.
we can make sure that we, a patrol officer patrols that area.
There's probably a group of, I'd say anywhere between 20 to 30 kids on a daily basis that come right up
Take
the
that
sill,
course, yeah.
cross the field behind the Vargas, on the Vargas property, behind
Right.
Convalescent Hospital. I've never known where they've gone. I've just seen them. I've never seen.
They probably come down Stevens.
Go by
They
my
do.
house and they go
They do.
through the
Yeah.
empty lot there and, yeah.
Yeah, so
But no regard
Fig.
whatsoever for traffic.
Okay. we will educate them.
Call your school board members at 862, oh,
And then I guess lastly, and I don't know if one of our council members is going to mention it, but we did have what I felt was a very productive meeting with the school district on the 17th. Another 2-on-2 meeting, and it was very productive. I think we have a good administration here, and that really wants to work with the city, and I think we're going to be able to get a lot of things done here. So that's all that I have.
thank you. Other staff reports? Stop pointing fingers.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Youth soccer began Saturday, September 8th with 28 teams with a total of 286 participants. We moved it out to Sherman Park this year, and I have had nothing but compliments on the park and the whole program out there. People are really happy with it. We did have to call off games this past Saturday due to rain, and the season does continue into Saturday, October 27th. Our Mommy and Me program will continue for its second year, with recreation assistant Alicia Torres teaching our class this year. Our other instructor, our volunteer instructor, she started college this year. We have filled our part-time recreation assistant position that was open. The candidate will she'll complete her physical and her background check. I do believe it's Thursday of this week. And as soon as we have the results of that, we hope to get her on board. And adult basketball and youth basketball registrations begin Monday, October 1st and continue through mid-November. Any questions?
Great. Questions for Terry?
One, the Newman Youth Baseball profit and loss statement, that was prepared by you or prepared by the directors of that group?
That was prepared by their directors.
And then they are tentatively scheduled to come before this council in November.
At a regular meeting?
At a regular meeting.
I know we had talked about meeting with them on a side deal, but we're just going to
Right.
do it at a regular meeting. Chief?
Yes. Mayor, members of the city council, it gives me great delight to report that at our next council meeting, we'll be swearing in a regular officer and a reserve officer. Coming
Great.
on board, we just completed their
Good.
background investigations, and I'm very excited about, first of all, filling one of the vacant positions we have, and also expanding our reserve officer program. And if all goes well, our mid-October, we'll have a second officer coming on board to fill our last vacant position. So I'm hoping by mid-October, we will be fully staffed in the police department.
Sounds great.
On the code enforcement front, we're continuing with our warning campaign on the garbage containers. We've ordered our second 1,000 labels. We're well into that. And we will continue throughout the month of September with the warning before we move into the citation. So ample opportunity for people to know that this is coming. And we're trying to avoid issuing citations at all possible costs.
Are you receiving any personal complaints, Chief, from people? I'm hearing rumblings, and I've assured people, you know, it's just a warning process and just trying to educate, and there still seems to be a lot of people upset over it, and I'm just wondering, are you fielding any complaints?
I am not receiving the calls. I know some are going to the city hall. I know my code enforcement officer is handling complaints on a daily basis. A lot of it has to do with the fact that the stickers are pink, and why do we have to use pink stickers?
Well, if that's all they have to complain about, then it's okay.
You know, and I think a lot of people just don't like the fact that they have to put their garbage containers away, and that's what it comes down to. And heretofore, it hasn't been enforced, and why are we enforcing it now? So those are the complaints I'm getting.
I'll make sure I grab mine first thing, as soon as the truck goes by.
Move it out of there. Now,
I got nailed.
as we continue on with this, the next front is going to be enforcing the encroachment issues of basketball hoops that are left in the street and blocking sidewalks. And we have stickers that are ordered up now. They're lime green, again, which I think will look good on the black basketball post. They're going to be highly visible. Again, we'll go through a warning process of letting people know that they can't leave them out in the street. They can't block the sidewalk, and that is an encroachment, and pull them back onto their property. So that will be the next thing will be in code enforcement. And I'm sure we'll get some more phone calls on that issue too. As a matter of fact, the code enforcement officer is hearing complaints. Well, if you're so concerned about the garbage cans, how come you're not doing something about the basketball hoops? So,
Just wait till next week.
yeah, exactly.
right.
We went through that stage about 8-9 years ago where we hit them pretty hard and heavy basketball hoops, and at one time, I think we counted, there's well over 200 hoops that were out in the streets throughout the city.
Okay.
Basketball hoops.
Yeah, and we ordered 500 stickers.
You're gonna need more, because I'm sure there's more hoops than that now.
Are we buying those stickers locally?
Yes, we are.
We're keeping the economy going
We
then.
sure are. It's killing my budget, Mayor. But I'm not asking for a budget
Okay,
augmentation.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
The lunchroom project is 90% complete. We had we installed the sink and the dishwasher. We're very happy with it, but then we found out that the drains were plugged up. So we finally got the drains unplugged. Next thing we'll be going in is our stove, and we have to get some inspections done, but real soon that lunchroom is going to be completed. And it's a very exciting time for the police department. It's a project way overdue. This week, half the department attended EVOC training, emergency vehicle operations course, to hone up their driving skills, put on by the sheriff's department, and next month the other half of the department will attend that training. It's a perishable skill that we need to maintain our skills with that type of training. Also, for Councilman Ed Caton, I'm happy to report Sergeant Richardson is attending a 3-day course on the Training Manager software program.
Great.
So we can get all of our training records automated.
Good.
And for everybody's edification, it was when you were a lieutenant, it was the last time those training records were automated. So it's been a goal of mine is to get those training records automated. So when he comes back, we're going to go capture all of our previous training records and get them automated.
Good.
So it's a good time for the police department for our training records. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Chief, can you give us an update on Officer Cooksey? We haven't heard from...
Yes, Officer Cooksey is on light duty. He's at a point now in his recuperation where we can bring him into the station, and he's helping purging old files. We have files, police reports, that go back to 1966. And our purge criteria is 10 years. So those exceed the 10-year purge criteria, and he has taken on that task and is now going through all those reports for us so we can purge those reports. He's continuing with his recuperation and so on and so forth. Of course, it's a medical situation, HIPAA requirements, and so on and so forth. But he is back in the department on the light duty status.
Great. We'll let Sergeant Richardson know if he needs any help with the TMS. I'll be glad to help if I could.
I sure will, and he's going to greatly appreciate that offer.
Chief, I'd like to compliment you on your recruiting efforts. I don't know what tune you're playing on that pipe or flute that you have, but continue. It's fabulous.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just fabulous.
Well, thank you. And just so you know, when I talked to the reserve officer, his idea was only to become a reserve officer. Today we spoke and he wants to become a full-time officer. So he is in my AAA farm club.
All right.
Exactly right. And as soon as I have a vacant position, I already have somebody ready, willing and able to step up and take over that full-time position.
Good.
And also, so you know, I've met with the city manager regarding our code enforcement officer, Edgar Lopez, who also wants to be a police officer. So we're going to sponsor him in the academy. He'll be attending the extended academy, take about a year to complete. And then when he comes out of the academy, he's somebody else that will be taking a full-time position.
Where's he gonna go, Chief?
He's looking at Modesto, and he's also looking at Delta to see
You
which
might-
one has the extended
Well,
academy.
you might want to look at Fresno, because I know the Merced County Sheriff's Department is sponsoring 6 of our reserves to go through the extended academy in Fresno.
To Fresno, I'll do that.
But I think it starts in October.
Yeah, he has October 13th, I believe, is Saturday, and he has a physical and a written that he has to take for entrance into the academy. So he was talking about after the first of the year. So, but Councilman Member Crinkle, I greatly appreciate the compliment, and I just want you to know, everybody in the police department is recruiting to fill those vacant positions.
We appreciate it a lot more than you think. I guarantee you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief, I had one question.
yes.
I've noticed a lot of young people congregating downtown. I don't see any problems. I mean, they don't seem to be causing any problems, but it's too bad that we don't have some place where those young people can go. I mean, they're just down there on the corner and they're just saying, and there's a good number of them. I mean, tonight there must have been 10 or 15 of them. Yeah.
I have said this more than once, that I wish there was more activities in the city of Newman for our youth. Because they're not acting out, they're not misbehaving,
No.
but what is it that we have for our youth to do to keep them busy, occupied, engaged? And, you know, the devil's workshop is an idle mind kind of a situation. I do get calls about the congregation of kids, although we don't like to call them kids up on Main, around Main, Fresno, that area. We ask them to move along, but where do they move along to?
Yeah.
And I don't want to push them out in the orchards and that kind of stuff, but yes, it is a problem. There's no movie theater here for the kids to go to. You know, there's really a lack of activity. And now hopefully they're engaged in high school activities and clubs, but yet a lot of them do just migrate down onto Main Street just to be seen and hang out. Yeah, and it is intimidating for a lot of people just to see those numbers.
Well, I had 4 women approach me on this, and I was going to ask you that before, Chief, but it's come up now. But they, when they walk by, you get the comments. There's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
You know how it is. And they were saying that they're nasty. They take over, like Dave said, I guess the sidewalk. But one of the women is afraid to even go to the bank because of, she's afraid. And these are older women, but.
And
the language. And I mean, I don't know what, but I agree. But I'll tell you one thing, and that's negative. The positive, one of these women was commenting about, she said that, and it was her suggestion too, and that we create someplace, Tara, I don't know what you can do with this, but there's a lot of these kids that might get involved in like music. And by music, I'm talking these bands and stuff. But she said create a couple rooms or something, almost like a recording studio. And I don't mean a lot of equipment, but just basic equipment that these kids could actually rent for $15 an hour or something. I mean, they can actually work towards, making a CD or something like that. But that would take up a lot of those kids because I don't think the athletes, I'll be honest with you, are down there on the corner. These are kids that are going to, not lost by any means, but they have nothing else to do. But give them something. I think you would take a lot of them too then into this music idea. And who knows where it can go from there. But I thought it was an excellent suggestion. It would, but just a thought.
Well, I will remind the council, we do have a teen center that has really expanded what they offer over there. Now, we don't get into the evenings, and the school district does provide after-school programs as well. So, it's not only an important part to provide the programs; it's a mechanism for getting the people into the programs as well. So. I know our recreation group did an excellent job of getting people out there. Some days they got 40 or 50 kids in their teen center, and that's extraordinary. That's a great number. We got a computer lab in there now. We got 2 big screen TVs. We got a pool table, air hockey, a snack bar. There's lots of different things and activities that are offered at the teen center as well. So,
Terry, what are the ages?
Terry.
Terry, what are the ages of the kids you see at the teen center?
Mostly the junior high students,
Yeah.
until they get their driver's license.
And the kids
Then it's
uptown
not-
are
then it's
approximately
not
what
cool
age?
to hang out. Junior high is about 12.
Yeah, to 14.
12 to about 14, 15.
Yep.
And like I said, once they start getting the driver's license age, that's when you start noticing them down on Main Street.
So it's
I
the
noticed them
older
last
kids
night
on Main
myself.
Street.
Yeah.
Because I know the teen center, when I was in high school, was open during the evenings, like Friday or Saturday nights, and they always had music, danced and.
During the summer, we did open on Friday nights until 9 p.m. We stopped when school started due to if the football games were going on. We didn't want the out-of-town children also, because we were afraid of the problems it might create.
In participation, good.
Yes, she did. She had was very well
Older
responded.
kids, or back to the junior high kids again?
8th, 9th, mostly. The junior high kids the younger junior high would go home. I guess they had to be home earlier. So yeah, we did get the little bit older ones.
That's the problem, to create something that those older kids are going to participate in.
Exactly.
But if you have a pool table
A
down
bowling
there, and a
alley.
big screen TV and air hockey,
And a little beer, just.
Direct your comments to council member.
I just have one additional comment for the chief, and I noticed it Saturday night, and I didn't know how long it's been going on, but the liquor store there at Fresno on Main Street have started posting their own no parking signs, or time parking signs, on bright green paper says 15-minute limit, JJ Liquors only.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
How do you know about that?
We will definitely look into that one.
Yeah, I know he has. I mean, he may be having a hard parking. Parking is a good thing, I guess. That we have problems in downtown here on Friday, Saturday nights.
But nobody owns those slots.
Yeah, but he's
Stalled.
somebody. I guess I can assume might be that business owner to staple them to 2 parking spaces in bright green. What's that paper called? Construction paper, yeah. And it says 15-minute time limit parking. I'm not sure how he's enforcing it. But
Is there a fine if you stay longer?
Fine. Are you finding people or what?
yeah, I don't know.
Egger's moonlighting.
Yeah. I'm not sure how he's enforcing it.
If he's finding them, we want to cut, chief. That's what we want, right?
Well, I'll definitely look into that because that's obviously illegal. And I haven't lost sight of the fact that there is a loitering issue going on Main Street, and we will take enforcement action. And I'll be talking with the city manager on some of those issues and see if there's something I need to bring back or something we can handle at our own level. But I do want to remind the council and the community that with all the loitering that's going on up there, we don't see the tagging, we don't see the vandalism, we don't see all that acting out. And when kids are going to be kids, and we have to look out for them and watch over them and so on and so forth. But I want to keep things in perspective, that they're up there and they're hanging out loitering, and that's a nuisance, and we'll deal with that. But let's keep in mind that our Main Street looks pristine because they're not causing any damage up there. So.
Chief, I'd just ask it, somebody's talked to them. Just explain to them, hey, guys, we're getting a lot of complaints about this, and I'm going to have to break it up if you continue to, just when a woman goes by or girl
Oh, yeah.
goes by, just treat her with respect. It's like your mother's walking by. So
Not a problem.
that's all I ask.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
that is
agree. They need
disrespectful
a,
making those types of comments.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my wife being exposed to that.
exactly.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thanks, Chief.
Okay,
Thank you, Chief. Any other staff reports? Ernie?
I only have one informational item, and Bob Stoddard and his staff from Boyle Engineering have completed the storm drain master plan study. They've submitted an administrative draft for us to review and for accuracy and to comment on. So once we get that done, then it'll be coming before you for approval.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ernie. I have some city council members. Mike?
I only have one item this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Have we ever established a formal position of what we think about the county and the air base? I know Patterson has, I know we've talked about it, but to my knowledge, I don't know if we've ever formalized.
We sent off a letter that was signed by the council indicating our desires. We didn't select a preferred master developer. What we talked about in our letter, and I can provide you a copy of that if you don't have it anymore, is criterion that we thought was appropriate for the board to contemplate when making their decision.
I address this to my fellow councilman and the mayor. Do you think we should take some time and discuss and formulate a formal position supporting the direction the city of Patterson's going, the direction that the county is going, opposition, favor, or should we just leave that letter as sufficient? Personally, I don't think it is. I think that we need to be in the forefront a little more and get on board with the city of Patterson to support their position. I think we're sitting down here very quiet, and I think it's time to stand up.
You know, I don't remember exactly what that letter says, but I think it said something about that, you know, we would support our neighbors to the north in Patterson, but I can't remember, but we can review that letter if I
I'll
remember
get that
right. I know
letter.
I've told the mayor personally that we'll support whatever, you know, they want. Obviously, you know, we wouldn't want the impact that they're afraid of in our city, obviously, but yeah, I can't remember exactly the wording of that letter.
Yeah, well, particularly now in light of the fact that some things have become apparent that were supposed to happen and are apparently not going to happen. So I just think it's time that our position be known out front fully, no questions.
Well, one thing that I would say as a city manager is there's no project on the table right now that West Park has come forward with. The only action that has transpired at this particular point in time is the Board of Supervisors gave them a 1-year window to negotiate as the exclusive master developer. They still have to come up with a plan. They still have to run the plan through public hearings and the public review process and the like. So right now, anything that we would really say is really conjecture because we don't know what any of the details are at this particular point. Now we're hearing a lot of hearsay, and there's a lot of information that's coming out about the short haul rail and whether that's actually viable or not. And so, how does this project evolve from there? I think we need to be diligent and continue to keep an eye on this thing to make sure that any project that is being proposed out there is conducive and helpful towards the city of Newman as well as city of Patterson and the entire west side. But at this particular point in time, I don't think they've come forward with a particular project. So we can reiterate. Let me provide you that letter again so we can look at it. And again, what we did is kind of establish parameters as to what we want to see out there, and what we want accomplished out there. And I think that's where, you know, it still lies is you know, get our criterion out there so that people can look at it in the count and they understand where we stand, but not taking a hard stand on, okay, no to this thing when it's not really a formal proposal at this time.
Well, one of the things that was formed, well, it was supposed to be a 1,500 acre project, and it turns out that it's a 4,500 acre project, which is a large, major difference.
And we are on record for a project that stays within the existing boundaries of the air site. That is the letter that this council signed. So, but council member, I will provide you a copy of that letter, and then the council so desires, and we want to alter it or follow up with a second letter, I'd be more than willing to draft that for you, and that meets all of your expectations.
Let's keep it on the front burner.
You got it.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Bob?
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Nothing? Thank you.
Would you like me to say something?
If you'd like. Always happy to have you say. Ted?
Mike, I just curious about, have you had any more meetings with Patterson about the water treatment?
We're trying to schedule something for the first week next week.
Excellent, excellent.
So our engineer couldn't get there, so we're trying to schedule that for next week.
Just a thought. I know we don't like Gustine, but even though I didn't grow up in this area, I don't
heard the
buy
rumors
into
or
that.
what?
Huh?
Excuse me, fellow councilman, I am married to a girl from Gustine.
And a very nice
Speak
girl,
for
by the
yourself,
way.
I like it.
Very pretty woman, by the way.
Thank you.
But no, I mean, why not include them in it? Couldn't we build a?
We have talked to them about
we've had
that.
a
No, I know, and they sort of.
We've had a conversation with the city of Gustine. At this point in time, I don't think they believe they have a water issue, other than some pipeline issues.
Gotcha.
Now, as we continue to move forward, there's going to definitely be more discussion that comes along with that. But
Good.
We've extended our hand towards them and said, look, we should think about this. And it was done on a 2-on-2 meeting. There was 2 council members there. They met with 2 of their council members, and we've had that meeting. At that particular point in the meeting, they said, we don't really have a water issue, other than we get some stuff, byproduct from our pipes that comes up, and so that's where it stands. But as we continue to move forward, we're not going to rule them out. We definitely need to leave some provisions in for if they want to come in at a different time.
Good.
Point in time.
The only other thing, Mike, I have was the fire district. Any new meetings on that?
No, they went ahead and put City Gate under contract.
Good.
And so that's going to be.
I read
moving
that.
forward.
Yeah.
So that's going to be moving forward. So I think that's a 3 to 6 month process. So they're going to be getting probably coming around Newman in the next week or 2 and start doing some interviews with our staff, not only in the fire department but in the finance department and the city manager as well, and to talk about expectations and where we see it going, growth rates, finance, and those types of things.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ted.
I'm good. I have nothing.
You're good? Wow. I just wanted to remind everyone there's going to be a chamber mixer this Thursday at Envision Homes on, well, you can access it off Hills Ferry, and their address is 1308 Maripole, 6 o'clock. Everyone's welcome. And I had lunch with Congressman Cardoza on Friday, and we're planning to have a Orstemba update meeting, probably sometime in November, maybe the middle of November, somewhere in there.
And you indicated that the preferred agenda is on the planning commission. Was that what I understood?
Yeah, well, they had thrown out a November 8th date. They wanted to do it in the evening to have more people attend, but now they backed off that date, so I don't have an exact date yet. But as soon as I get that, we'll definitely announce that. But I think that's all I had. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.